Well, we'll call the meeting to order. Start with the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation.
Everybody has a chance to look at the agenda. Any additions or corrections to the agenda? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, is there, okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Approve previous board meeting minutes from August 27th. Everybody's had a chance to look at those. Are there any additions or corrections to the board minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
There a second? There's no further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. We have no public comment. Is there anybody that'd like to make a public comment? We have no appointments. One item on the consent agenda, that's to hire Elizabeth Knudsen as a 67-day public health nurse to assist with WIC duties until full-time nurse is hired. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Seems to be okay. I move to approve it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Action item number 1, consider approving resolution number 24-31 to approve and accept Houston County right-of-way plat number 88 for reconstruction of a state aid project.
So this is the plat for for the project to replace Bridge 7540 on County 10. So this bridge is on a curve. We're trying to, we're gonna align the curve in a little bit so it's not quite as sharp. So we had the plans approved. We met with the landowner, and the landowner has terms there for selling the land to the county. So I'd like to approve the plat, and we can go ahead and get the project advertised here soon to get built next spring.
This will be done with some state aid funds, I assume.
Yes.
How much more are you moving that over?
The road is shifting about. Essentially, the new center line is gonna be close to the existing shoulder. So it's
Okay.
not a drastic shift, but it's gonna be a box culvert, so it's not gonna have any railing on the sides. It's gonna have a wider road surface, so it'll be it won't feel like such a tight corner. And the new curve is gonna match the curves that are just up the road and down the road from where the structure is. So it's all gonna be pretty uniform when you go to drive the road now.
So you're still gonna have the accesses to the,
Into the shooting range.
yeah,
Yes.
This is gonna be considerably wider than what we've got.
Yeah, so currently the bridge it's narrow, it has railing on the side, so yeah, it'll feel much better going through it.
Be the guardrail.
No,
you'll have the cement rail, whatever, right?
no, but it'll be like a typical box culvert. You don't have any railing on the side, you have the
Paper.
flatter four slopes.
Okay, yeah.
What's the reasoning for no guardrail?
If you have,
All the other corners going up and down the hill. With that ditch and stuff, this is gonna be a drop off.
yep, so the clear zone, the area from the fog line out to where that drop off is, that all meets the slopes for recovery area, so it's a trying to think with the traffic volume, if it's 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 fork slopes in that area adjacent to the shoulder. So there's some time for vehicles to stop before they hit that,
It's like a typical box culvert.
like a district box. Yes.
I was under the assumption to be like a. Have that. 2.5 foot cement barrier, but.
Yeah, it's all based on design standards and if you have the recovery area before you get to that vertical drop.
How will this affect the drainage from that draw? To doing the rest of it.
Essentially, it's gonna match what's there now. Capacity is gonna be the same for the new structure.
It's gonna act like a dam and hold anything back.
No.
One or two.
One. Yeah, one big one, and it's gonna be long too, because it's on a pretty drastic skew.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 24-31.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Thank you. Number 2, consider approving allocation of ARPA funds in the contract with Next Chapter Technology for Casework Social Services Division.
Morning, guys. So we had this in front of you a couple weeks ago, and I asked to take it off so that I could review the numbers in the contract. As it turns out, I misread the contract. We had spent a lot of time in discussing with the vendor our one-time costs, and for this, they added the annual subscription as well. So when I looked at the total being 141, it's like, wait a minute, that's not right. But actually, that is the correct figure. The one-time costs would be the implementation services of 75,613 and migration services of 50,000. So that's 80,613. Those are one-time costs. The product licenses, annual subscriptions, those actually are down a little from the projected numbers they gave me, but that is something that we have with the current program, and it's a nominal change. So that's already figured into our budget. So I apologize for the delay. I just looked at that in real time and I'm like, where did that number come from? It's just that they added the first year of those subscriptions to the total.
The implementation is $75,613.
Correct. Those are one-time costs to set up the program, go through our business process. A lot of what this is configuring the software to make sure that the workflow is designed the way we need it to be. Very similar to what we did. There were implementation services for the product that we bought from Next Chapter Technology for economic assistance.
The mitigation, how much is that?
That's migration. So they bring data in from the current system. There's an additional contract that I'm going to have with another vendor to do the data conversion. So I don't do a good job of defining this, but in the one system, the language is this, and that data needs to be converted into data that will be applicable for the new program. That was also something we had to do for the income maintenance or the economic assistance program. We moved that time from a program called OnBase. So that program used certain, it configured its data in such a way that worked for that program. We have to configure the existing data or archival data to fit the new program. That's what that program's for. But for Next Chapter, they do some work in bringing that in. That's what that 5,000 is for.
5,000.
Yeah. on this contract. There's another one that'll be a second contract that I'll need to bring to you. That's the next item in the
Yeah.
agenda.
So,
Point being, this is very similar project to the one we did with economic assistance. Very similar to what you approved for our accounting division. It'll put all of our divisions on the same platform. And this is something we've got to have. The current program for social services is switching its platform from Microsoft Surface. It won't support our equipment anymore. And so we need to make a change. And that's happening early in 2025. So that's also similar to what happened with economic assistance. There we were part of a consortium with Winona County. Winona County changed the direction they were going and we had to quickly respond. This is a case where the vendor that we've worked with for a good number of years is changing their platform and we have to make a change. Or buy all new equipment.
And is this replacing any numbers already in the budget or that have already been budgeted in the past?
Yeah, the product licenses, that's an ongoing budgeted thing. It's an annual subscription. And there's nominal difference between what we would project for the next year of Traverse. And that's been our budget for a good number of years.
None of these numbers have anything to do with those numbers.
The 60,625 is an annual expense that is in our budget. It's been in our budget for the annual expense for the existing program. It will be in our budget, is already built into our budget that you reviewed a bit for 2025. The only thing I'm here for today is the discussion of the implementation services. Those are one-time costs to be able to get the thing set up.
and that number is,
That number is 75,613 plus 5,000. So a total of 80,613.
Okay.
If you approve the contract,
I must have misheard you. I thought I heard a number of 140,000.
141 at the beginning, but that was.
right, that was the thing that was confusing to me. So,
Because everything was on there.
right, what they
Okay,
did
yeah.
was they added
I got
the annual cost, and when I looked at it and when I was coming up that day, I'd look at the
Wow,
contract a
yeah,
number
I
of
get
times, and I'm like, wait a minute, I was thinking it was around 80,000.
Okay, yeah.
And I looked and it said the total was 141 and they called it product licenses. Typically, they call that an annual subscription or annual maintenance or something. So it threw me.
I got you.
And so we will continue to pay that amount and it probably escalates slightly over time. That's with all of our software products. But what we need assistance for here and approval for this contract is for those one-time costs to get it established.
And this is something we didn't have on the ARPA thing, but we would like to do it.
Correct.
We got enough to do that, Carol?
We have the 178,000. Has been
Allocated yet?
allocated.
That'll draw her down pretty quick.
Plus, we still got that 100 someplace, but that's gonna be worked into the budget maybe, but. It sounds
So
like,
you're asking for ARPA for the next one too, that.
Right.
So we're talking maybe 90.
looking into the future, this would last us several years, hopefully, before they try and change
I
it
would
again.
anticipate it will. I think I've said to you guys before, predicting what they're gonna do with software and where technology is gonna go is kind of a fool's errand. But this is a company that has, I think, 62, 63 counties out of 87 are on this platform. There was only a handful of counties that were on the platform that we're currently on. And so they have invested very heavily in Minnesota and Minnesota County Human Services. And I don't anticipate them going anywhere. Yeah. But we've also seen this kind of stuff I've seen over time where company A is doing well, company B wants to buy them. Company buys them, and then over time it changes. Maybe it changes for the better in some areas, or changes for the worse, or they get out of that business altogether. That's really hard to predict. With this, I would say that I don't have any reason to believe that we would be looking at this again unless there's some kind of a unusual occurrence. It's also a company that, as new things are happening with their, or new additions or versions of their software, it's baked into that annual fee. So we don't have another where you're on version 10 and they do 11, 12, 13, 14, pretty soon 10 isn't working that great anymore. Now you have to upgrade, and that's another big expense. This is a company that doesn't do it that way. You're covered. They're continually implementing new things to software. So we always have the most recent version.
None of this is budget.
Say again?
None of this money is budget.
No.
Are there any grants out there we can get?
I'm not aware of any grants for this. We can, if you don't fund it through ARPA, we would use reimbursement that we get, which would probably be in the neighborhood of, I don't know, 12 to 15% of this, because it's a social services product. That's the worst return we get from the state.
Can you still get that if we use our?
I don't think so. We looked into that when we did the economic assistance one and determined that that'd be kind of like double dipping. Since ARPA is federal funds, and we'd be drawing down federal funds for the reimbursement that we get. They're state dollars, but they originate with the feds. So we did a lot of research on that. There's some who feel that it's possible, but I wouldn't recommend that. I think you're asking for an audit hit there and potentially a payback of federal dollars.
Well, it seems like it's something that has to be caught up to date, updated to go with the changes and be prepared to for what the state's gonna expect in the future. So I move to approve the expenditure of ARPA funds for updating our file for the next chapter technology
And the contract.
and contract. Yes.
Is there a second to that motion? Second to that motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Second motion. Conversation. We meet Thursday. Budgets. Not our, so it's not affecting our budget per se, but some changes.
I get it.
So there's gonna be some difficult decisions happening. Very difficult. This is to stay up with technology and be able to be operational together.
Well, I've talked to Andy about this, and this is something that we really have to do. And I guess if. As long as we have some ARPA funds still available, that'd be the good way to utilize that that way it doesn't come out into the budget, so. I think it's a need that the county needs, so. Great. Okay, we got a motion to approve and a second. Is there any further more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Number three, consider approving allocation of ARPA funds up to $15,000 for social services data transfer related casework, social service.
So this is the same company that we used for the data transfer. Data conversion for our economic assistance program a couple years ago. It's hard to know exactly what that figure is going to be until we get closer to implementation. If you approve this today, I would be coming back to you with a contract once we have a better idea of that.
It could be less.
Could be less. I will communicate with them. I mean, the estimates that Andy and I have been able to get is about 14,000. So. Yeah. One thing we've got going for us here is it was actually a lot higher for our economic assistance division because there were many, many more records. There's just a lot more documents and a lot more stuff they had to transfer, a lot more data. Social services has a lot too, but not near as much as the in and out data that we get with economic assistance. And so this was projected at 14,000. I rounded to 15 just to give us a little bit of room, but I don't have a firm number on that or a firm contract. Once we are closer to implementation, then we'll have the data extract. I'll be able to work with that company to say, okay, what's it going to cost? I think it helps if I say, look, I've got this to work with.
So it's an up to maximum of 15,000.
Is this something that replaces existing expense someplace in the budget?
This is part of the project to switch from Traverse to NextGen. So you just approve the contract to kind of configure the system and get it ready and install and do the training for our staff. That's the one-time cost to start that project. This is to take the Traverse data and migrate it, or not migrate it, but transfer it. I don't know. We can't just take the data that currently is configured for Traverse and plop it into Next Chapter and have it work. You have to do some smart Andy-like things with it. I'm not doing a very good job of explaining it. It's just kind of like if you're doing an exhaust system, you sometimes need an adapter. This is to adapt the data that we currently have so that it will work with the new system. Since we didn't plan that this vendor, Northwoods for Traverse, was going to change their platform prior to the 2024 budget, neither of these expenses were in the 24 budget. But the change is going to happen early in 2025.
Kind of like changing it from English to Spanish.
Kind of, yes.
Carol, how much is in fund balance as far as the human services?
I think we're a little over 500 undesignated.
So the designated fund balance is to maintain the not necessary to cover in case of financial collapse from the government or whatever.
It's just kind of, it's an adjustment. It's not actually specified as a designated fund balance. That's their total fund balance that they have. And a portion of it is actually assigned because of the advanced monies we got for the housing.
For
and
opioids.
for
Opioid the opioid dollars.
opioid dollars.
So
Dedicated to something. Other
So just let
Not a fair question at this point.
So I don't have it right in front of me right now, but I think that the undesignated amount was a little over 500,000 after you. Take out the money that's designated for opioid settlement. What's designated for the housing programs that came to us. Have to be used for those things, and then also the percentage you look for, I can't recall exactly what that is, but a certain percentage of levy. For the auditor. And that's designated. And then I think what our sheet said was it was something a little over 500,000 is our undesignated fund
Okay.
balance. That's unaudited too, so.
I guess from my perspective, I prefer to take 15,000 or whatever it is. The undesignated fund balance.
You trying to save the ARPA money for something else or what? Huh?
Yep. I know it's only 15,000, you guys want to do it that way.
Well. I mean, we got like roughly, what was it, 170 some thousand. We're drawn down to 95, we're getting down there, but it's something that we need to get it spent too, but. But I don't know what other plans you had for that ARPA dollars, the budget.
There's all kinds of capital improvement requests. By other departments and whatnot.
Such as what, equipment or construction?
Squad cars. That's
That 100,000 that came from another fund, that's not used yet at all, is it? And we're looking to utilize that, the budget capital things, so that.
we did have the fleet cars
We've already done that, right?
pretty much assigned.
Yeah.
There's not really that much left.
The deadline for allocation is one.
End of the year.
What'll that draw us down?
So basically, we're getting down close to zero.
And we're
If we were to do this 95,000.
But we need to transfer the stuff too. We authorized the 95 for the next. Whatever that name was. And so we just need to get the information over there now, and that's what we're talking about now, how we're gonna pay for getting it transferred over. So which fund do we take it out of? I think we can all agree that it needs to be done, but where do we wanna take it?
We just approved the other thing. We gotta do this, so.
I've got one piece of equipment bought. I have the extra.
So,
If you have 500,000 in the fund.
What we're projecting, again, I don't have it sitting in front of me, but I believe what we were projecting into going into 2025. Is a little over 500,000 undesignated.
So we could use that to, some of that. To offset the budget, but we,
This is a new way. So if we use undesignated fund balance. Kicking the can down the road by using. The ARPA dollars can be used for some of the new requests. This is a new request. We're gonna be hitting fund balances someplace along the line, no matter what.
yeah,
So. I was just thinking that this 50,000 could come out of that, if you think about the ARPA.
what do you suggest, Carol?
It's not really that big of an amount, so it wouldn't make that big of a difference on the ARPA funds and then we have another chunk salary savings within the department. People left and have been replaced, so I can't say that our final 2024 budget is going to look over, so there probably is money. Or what? And it was
So-
it's a call around that I don't. really think
Right, so what did he? The action item is to consider approving allocation of ARPA funds up to $15,000. Is there a motion to approve that?
Yes, I move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Aye.
Thank you.
Yep, thank
See
you.
you later, Doug.
Number 4, consider approving resolution number 24-32 authorization to establish absentee ballot board in the 2024 state election, general election, appoint members of the public of James Groden, Michelle Ashmore to the absentee ballot board. Holly.
So there's been an increased public interest in the election and ballot board processes. So this new ballot board process of hiring members of the public will allow even more transparency. We welcomed observers to watch during the primary election, but this time around, members of the public will actually be much more involved. We've chosen 2 instead of 4 ballot board members based on those political parties of those applying. All applicants were rated during the interview process, and those with the highest scores in each political party were offered the position. County staff will be able to fill in on any given day if necessary, should one of those hired be unable to come in. Absentee voting starts September 20th, so we'll start our ballot board training the week prior to that. We'll also have a county staff person present at all times during the ballot board process. So once the training is completed, we should be ready to go.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the absentee ballot board
So move.
appointed members? Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. All right, now we'll go on to number 5. Consider approving resolution 24-33 authorization to establish the UCOVA ballot board for 24 general election.
Yeah, so the UOCAVA process is a very time-sensitive issue. These overseas absentee ballots have to be processed the same day they're received by us. Just in case they are rejected for any reason, we have to start the replacement ballot process ASAP.
And this covers that requirement?
Yes.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 6, consider approving disaster abatements and credit for Gary Eddy parcel number 21. And a vehicle accident and RH Properties, Joe Road, for fire. Luke. Yep. Lucky Gary wasn't in his garage.
So basically, a disaster abatement is a little different than a regular abatement. A disaster abatement is completely up to the board to approve. So Polly and I, we could review it and we can recommend, but it has to be a board motion to grant a disaster abatement. So the first one we have is Gary Eddy, and it's actually parcel 251011. I think it says 211011 on the agenda. That was my mistake. So I don't know if everybody's heard or not, but there was a vehicle accident that the vehicle ended up in Gary Eddy's garage. So basically the garage is pretty much destroyed. So he applied for the disaster abatement, and on the back of the Gary Eddy one, I have wrote out the calculations. So basically, if you take the value of the garage out, and then calculate the tax versus what it was before, the difference is $381. So that would be the abatement amount for 2024.
Should we do those individually, Luke, or?
I probably would, yeah.
So is there,
So when the garage gets rebuilt next year or whenever, it will be reassessed then back to. what it was
Yeah,
before.
so this is just for the remainder of this year. If it goes into next year, then he is not applying for a credit for next year, so he's just applying for this current year.
Credit. Well, it's just a disaster. I didn't have use of the garage for a period of time, and so I moved to approve the abatement for Mr. Eddy and former $381.
is there,
Is that how I should read it? Because it will amount to.
a second to that motion?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
All right, so the next one is for Joe Root and Craig Helke. They had a fire here a couple weeks ago. It destroyed pretty much the whole building. Joe and I went out there and looked at it. There is part of it that's still standing, but the inside is damaged so much that it's pretty much unusable. So with this one, that would be this page with all the calculations. Kind of walks through what the abatement would be, just because it's slightly bigger than the other one. So it started out, the value of the property was 760,300. The land is still there, so we're not abating anything on the land, but the building was 667.5. In commercial, there's a first tier, second tier when you calculate tax, so that's kind of that next section. And then you have our levy rate for Caledonia, the referendum, which would be the school, and then the state tax. So when you add all that up there in the second column, for the taxes for the entire year for the building would be $20,252.72. They did have use of the building up until, the last 4 months of the year. They won't. So that's what the abatement would be for, just the months that it was unusable. So the total for 2024 would be $6,750.91 would be the abatement for 2024. They are also applying for a credit for next year. That we don't have calculated because we don't necessarily know the rates for next year. So, that could be anywhere in that currently $20,000 for the building to, depending on the rates, 25, 30,000. So, but the abatement's one thing, the credit's another thing. They can apply for that on one application, but it's actually two different things to vote on. So the abatement would be just for this year, kind of like the Eddy one, for 4 months that they can't use the building.
That's what we're doing today.
Yeah, and the credit is, you guys could approve that today, or we can we have to bring it up, but we could just wait until we see what the levy rates are and when they rebuild, if they rebuild.
That's
then
why I would think we should just
do
do
the
that
credit.
later.
Yeah.
Just do the abatement for today and then we could revisit the credit for next year.
Yep, that's fine. I just had to bring it up
Yep,
because
yep.
it's fine.
Yep.
So I think that's probably the best way to do it
Yep.
too. It's because we don't know what that amount is.
Right.
We have no idea. So. So then it would just be for the 24.
6,000.
Yeah, it'd be the 6,750 and 91 cents.
Makes sense, go for just this 1 year in abatement, so I move to approve the abatement, in form of 6750.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys. All right, number 7, consider approving update board schedule. The only change is that the workshop group session October 8th will be at the basement of the CJC instead of the regular room due to boardroom technology install. Pretty self-explanatory, Allison.
Yes. We'll also put a note on the door the day of, just in case someone forgets.
Makes sense, get her done, so I move to approve the location change for October 8th.
And the updated board schedule.
With that being in the board schedule.
Yes. Okay, you made the motion. Did you just second it, Greg?
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Number 8, consider reviewing and approving payments. Everybody's had a chance to look at those. Reviewed those.
Question I have on second one, the Medica, that's 192. Is that a? How
That's
much,
our employee insurance.
how much, 6 month, whole year, or how much is that covering at 192?
1 month.
Big check.
We pay $2 million for health insurance, of course.
Basically.
We need to get it, see if we can get it down, so.
Not per month, but.
Department of Corrections, 72,000.
That was, we finally got our billing, you know, we contract with the state for our probation officers.
Yep.
And we finally got our bill for July through December of last year,
That was the delay.
You know, they did throw that additional funding at it, so they wanted more detail, so I guess they were working out this new spreadsheet that they sent that we paid from.
Hmm.
I mean, I think I asked them in January, you know, when we're gonna get that? Oh, we're working on it. And I asked them several times, because it, you know, it really kind of messes with our budget too,
Yeah.
because now we're just paying for that. And so we've already got January through June. Typically, the billing would come in October. I guess we'll
Right.
just be hopeful that it does, now that they have more of their method worked out as to how they'll bill it.
So if the state threw more money at it, it's gonna be less than for us?
They're coming closer to the 50% that it says in the statute that they'll actually reimburse us for.
Okay.
So we're getting,
They're close.
they're coming closer.
Closer to meeting their obligations.
Well, is there a motion to approve the bills? Payments.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the bills.
Second,
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye,
Opposed, same sign. Discussion items, administrator updates. Carol, what do you got?
All right, so we're working on getting the cars all put into service. Enterprise hasn't indicated when they're gonna pick up the Jeep, so I'm just having people use them until they come to get them.
good.
We'll have to do a little clean out on them, but I'm not sure how clean they have to be, but they're not very. So getting the insurance, we don't have the license plates for the other cars.
Reverse.
Yeah, and then we'll get the calendars out there so people can schedule them. The assessor's office, they're going out on appointments, so we need to make sure that we have something available for that. I think the details are worked out for facilities for Brian to take over portions of it. I'm almost thinking they kind of decided that the the claims paying for the bills and supplies and stuff will probably stay here for now. They're going to have some leaves out at highway, so kind of in
The
a
times-
routine right now.
Yeah, so,
Uh,
and we'll continue that.
Yeah. We have the time card program set up for Brian to do the approvals. I think he's meeting with the staff to find out work schedules and things like that, so that's moving on. I'll spend some time this week with Tess to make sure that we get everything down, what's happening with negotiations. We'll work on getting the personnel policy wrapped up to get that approved. See if there's anything behind the scenes that's going on that we should probably know about.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's kind of in a nutshell.
All right. All I've got is that, we had that meeting with Carol and Tess and Brian last week, so she covered that. Discussed that. Only other thing I wanted to just reminder to everyone of the township officers county association meeting September 11th at 6 p.m.
Wednesday night.
That's coming up. I don't know, Carol, do they want reports from like some department heads and stuff like they've usually done, or? It wasn't mentioned in there.
Invite.
And I would probably call our- If that's what they're wanting.
Yeah, I could talk to the president too. I think it's Larry Ghost this year, so I could ask him if that's what they want. I'll look into that.
It used to be that the highway department and sheriff's department would give one of the.
Yeah, and Sam did too, and
Different ones every.
Yeah.
other year.
Brian did send an email that he'll be out of town.
oh, okay.
Brian Swiffer.
Oh, all right.
He sent that.
That's all I've got. Dewey, what do you got?
Nothing much going on. Tomorrow I'll be going over to La Crosse for the solid waste committee meeting. Next week I was supposed to go to Winona for Winlac, but due to negotiation, Bob's gonna cover it for us next week at Winlac, so that's about it.
Commissioner Burns.
I don't have too much. We had our Houston joint meeting last week. Everybody was there. Typical meeting, I guess. One question, did we approve the increase for the extension? As far as the budget?
It's part of the budget.
It's included in
It's
the,
included, but we
but not
haven't
approved.
approved that. community meeting with regard to special. So that was good. So the only other thing I'm gonna say is Brian Swedberg, Brian Mokazinski, John Puglisi are all. Carol's gonna be getting a hold of you because Thursday morning, starting at 8 o'clock, we're meeting with department heads about budget, so. Plan your schedule accordingly for Thursday morning.
Ryan and John are available.
Brian's gone.
Brian Hogan since
Oh, is gonna be gone.
and John Lisa for this Thursday. But we won't get all of them done.
Anyway,
So we'll find another day. So he can,
September's running on, so we better get.
well, unless you want
People
to
pay
do it,
attention.
unless you want to do it as part of the work group.
would that,
Well, that be
Would
too
that
late?
work?
Would that be too late? But work
No.
group, that's
That's it.
we got to the end of the month, right?
true.
It's next week. Downstairs. Want to get a good start on this so we get.
Work group?
Mhm.
Drag and feel like we're waiting for budgets and the.
Next week, the work group's here.
Okay.
In
October.
October, the work group is changing, just to eliminate the confusion.
And if you can. That's it.
Good call.
Commissioner Show.
I really don't have too much, few more phone calls over the property out there that we talked about. and just trying to find a brief. Some
Yeah.
people from before.
Yeah.
And I'll cover that meeting that went last, they wanted the full board edit. That's all I got.
Greg.
Got EDA meeting tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, right?
Right.
8:05, yes.
8:05. I'm early, son. And outside of that, nothing much but a bunch of phone calls. Peace with the bank. Nasty ones, some good ones. Outside of that, that's about all I need to have.
All right. Any closing public comment? See, as there is none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Oh,
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you.